All right, people. All right, party people. It's Monday and it's time. And all I got to say is, where's the button? Yeah, there it is. Okay, here we go. Let's go. On your mark, get set. Let's go.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Mister, will you please wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up?
Good morning. Kevin Durant, you should have left California.
This Bronsexual upset me in having to bring this teenage idiot from Wisconsin into a sports conversation. Are you really surprised the Cowboys are giving up on Ezekiel Elliott?
Whoa. Hell no. Well, no one cares about baseball.
Bitch, are you for real?
Oh, yeah. Let's go. Good morning. Sorry about the voice. Welcome to the Manic Monday edition of Snowman in the Morning. Glad to have y'all with us. We are presented by BetUS.com. Hey, sports bettors, listen up. BetUS.com is back and in our 30th year of action. And now with the NHL and NBA going along with the NFL and Major League Baseball winding down its season, there are many, many chances for you to play some bets, be it on games, be it on players, or whatever your pleasure is, and make a lot of money doing it. Right now, if you go to betus.com and use the code Snowman, you will get a 125% deposit match on your deposit. Log on to betus.com or call 1-800-792-3887. That's 1-800-79-BET-US. BetUS.com, where the game begins. And boy, I'm feeling organized and I'm getting it all together. Here's the whip around presented by Fanatics. We start in Pittsburgh, where Diontae Johnson says, quote, they were calling stupid stuff. That's how pissed I am. I don't care what nobody says. They cost us the game, close quote. The most controversial call came before halftime when a 55-yard field goal by Pittsburgh kicker Chris Boswell was taken off the board after guard Isaac Seumalo was penalized for lining up off sides. The kick would have cut Jacksonville's lead to 9-6 heading into intermission. Instead, the Steelers were forced to re-kick, and Boswell's 61-yard try sailed wide right. A replay appeared to be inconclusive, and Mike Tomlin said he didn't get much of an explanation. The referees have been stupid this year. Stu and Pid, as a friend of mine would say. For the first time in his long NBA career, Chris Paul does not start. Steph Curry had 24 points with 4 three-pointers in the fourth quarter. Klay Thompson added 19 to lead the Warriors to a 106-95 win over the Houston Rockets on Sunday night. Draymond Green made his season debut after missing the first two with a sprained left ankle. His return to the starting lineup relegated Chris Paul to a reserve role, marking the first time the 12-time NBA All-Star had come off the bench in his career. Since the NBA began tracking games in 1982, no player had appeared in more games and started them all than Chris Paul entering Sunday. The last time Paul did not start a game that counted was in college, December 13, 2004. He was slightly late for the team bus and benched for the first 4 minutes of Wake Forest's game against Temple. Paul started the last 25 games of his college career and every game of his 19 seasons until Sunday. With his streak now over, Milwaukee's Damian Lillard, who was playing in the 833rd game of his career Sunday night, now has more starts than any active player without an appearance as a reserve. It's massive the way Chris Paul has embraced everything, says Steve Kerr.
It's massive the way Chris has embraced everything, here in the first month since he's, been with us. As you know, tonight was the first game of his entire career. He didn't start. And, when I talked to him this morning about it, he just, nodded his head and said, let's go get him. It was like not even a big deal. So, I think it's similar to Andre all those years ago, I guess 2014, when a vet, a great player, all-star, shows that kind of sacrifice. It just sets a tone for the whole team. And so the vibe is great on our team, and Chris is one of the main reasons for that.
And that vibe just may get the Warriors to June. Bad news coming out of Minnesota, and I don't wish this on anyone, but it appears that Vikings starting quarterback Kirk Cousins, who exited Sunday's game against the Packers early in the fourth quarter, could be gone for the rest of the season. After the team initially said Cousins left with an ankle injury, Kevin O'Connell said after the game, the incredibly unfortunate preliminary diagnosis is that the veteran quarterback suffered an Achilles injury. He will undergo an MRI today, and a lot of prayers for Kirk Cousins. As much as I playfully pick on him here, I know how damn good he is, and I know how valuable he is to the Minnesota Vikings, and I wish no injury upon anybody. So Kirk Cousins, prayers to you, my friend, to you and the Minnesota Vikings. Speaking of injuries, Tyrod Taylor and Darren Waller were ruled out of the remainder of the game yesterday. The Giants were down to third-string quarterback Tommy DeVito against the Jets defense that included last year's defensive rookie of the year, Sauce Gardner. After a missed Graham Gano 35-yard field goal opened the door for the Jets to drive with just 24 seconds left and forced overtime, the Giants fell 13-10. DeVito completed just 2 of 7 passes for -1 yard, and the team finished with -9 yards overall, and they suffered 4 sacks. They announced that Taylor was officially done for the day and taken to the hospital with a rib injury. Man, the injuries are piling up, and I swear this seems like 2020 all over again. Oregon surges in the top 10 after their dismantling of Utah, and the Georgia Bulldogs remain the #1 team in the nation. We'll do the entire top 25 a little bit later. Last but not least, Taylor Heineke is in the lineup for the Falcons over Desmond Ridder, and this may spell the end of the Desmond Ridder experiment. That will conclude the Whip Around presented by Fanatics. Let's take a break. We'll go inside the Fanatics feedback zone, and also let's see. The Broncos beat the Chiefs. How the hell did that happen? We'll break it all down after this. This is Snowman in the morning with Cole Johnson. Back in the deuce.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby!
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Peckham's. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying. But this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Bobby J and Wise El Jefe, Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast, every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby!
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Peckham's. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube.
Bro, you walk through this office building every day. You know what the fire alarm look like. I don't want to hear that.
Oh my
Is wrong? Like you got. I wish you had that button right now.
Got me up.
With this bull. You got a mother thinking from New York can't read. Don't know red means fire alarm. Like you seen it says don't pull or pull in case of emergency. There was no emergency. Like oh my God.
Keep
Let me calm
cooking.
down. Let me calm down.
No, keep
Because
cooking.
this dude is really a yo.
Keep cooking.
I'm wondering why you even brought this up, man. Like this is not news. This is not news. This is some stupid trying to make a power play, and he came out looking like a dumb. This is all that is. Well, let me try to delay this. I'm late. Negro, you need to speed up your watch or something, or put your alarm set so you can leave 20 minutes earlier. I don't know.
The following is a public service announcement from Wise El Jefe.
Boston.
This has been a public service announcement from Wise El Jefe. Cause we take this job so serious.
The is that? Sorry, pardon me. My apologies.
What in the all types of blue hell?
This is Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson.
It most certainly is. 16 after the hour, and let's go to the Fanatics feedback zone. And I welcome back an old friend. Mark Kelly is with us. And Mark, you and I have to get together and share a microphone again, and we got to do it often. I'm putting that plea out there right now. Fins up, baby, and good morning to A Pizzle 90. His Dolphins came up with a huge victory on Sunday over the Patriots. Real Wise TV, Wise El Jefe, my brother in the house. He said he greets A Pizzle. Victor La from Chicago joins us as well. A Pizzle, one more time. Happy Victory Monday. How about those Miami Dolphins? You know what, A Pizzle? Give me this. Where's that button? Where is that button? Did I push the right? Did I push yeah. Pizzle, this is for you.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl, cause we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1. Yes, we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins #1.
Yep, the Dolphins win 24-10. And since the Eagles won as well over the Washington Redskins, hey, Cool McCain, present for you.
To victory. E-A-T-L-E-S, Eagles!
That's for you, Cool McCain. A Pizzle greets, says Morning Snowman, Mr. Wise, and of course, Vicala, of course. Real Wise, how about those? How about them Bengals? They stomped us into the ground. I talked about that yesterday during the post-game reaction. Foot on the gas all game, and they didn't let up. And you shouldn't let up when you have a team reeling. You should not let up at all. But, and I'll talk about this later, good news is we're on a bye. We're still in playoff competition. I'll take 5-3 over where we were last year with all kinds of confusion going on. Sick Diggy joins us from Norway, says good morning, afternoon, evening, and good night. Same to you. Victor greets him, and then Wise greets him. Victor Locke says, ouch. Yeah. And what else? Sick Diggy greets Wise. A Pizzle greets Sick. And oh, no. Then you got this. Shut up, Cole. I love you, but shut up. All right? I got the score wrong for the Dolphins. It was 31-17. That was the final. Gee, those numbers sound familiar because that's what happened in Levi Stadium yesterday. 31-17. Bengals win. They moved to 4-3. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, there are three inevitable things in this world: death, taxes, and the Chiefs beating the Broncos. Until yesterday, the United States had seen 3 different presidents in office. Songs like designers Panda, Shape of You, and Old Town Road from Lil Nas X And all that happened while the Kansas City Chiefs were beating the hell out of the Denver Broncos every chance they got. And now that streak is over. 24-9, the Broncos upended the Kansas City Chiefs to snap their 16-game losing streak to Kansas City. The last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs was 2015. It was 31-24 in week 2. 2,965 days since that game. Patrick Mahomes battled illness and winter weather. He went 24 of 38 for 241 yards and 2 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times. The Denver defense forced 5 turnovers, tied the most giveaway by the Chiefs since 2018 when they gave up 5 against the Los Angeles Rams. And I want to say that was that incredible back and forth Monday night game, which the Rams won 54-51. Justin Simmons intercepted Mahomes on 4th and 22 with 4:45 left on the clock, putting Russell Wilson in the offense on the Kansas City 20-yard line before the Broncos turned it into a 28-yard field goal with 31 seconds left before stopping Mahomes a final time and the clock ran out. The Broncos scored 17 points off of turnovers. And good morning to you, Thomas Fitzpatrick. Thanks for stopping by and hitting the like button. Rob Carlton, good morning to you. You know, I looked at that score, 24-9. And I said, how the hell did they hold the Chiefs to 9 points? Well, just explained it. 5 turnovers tend to do that. Intercepting Patrick Mahomes twice tends to do that. And you hold one of the most powerful offenses in the NFL to 9 points. I couldn't believe it. I thought the Chiefs were going to roll into Denver and beat them for a 17th time. Well, as legendary comedian Ron White says, that's profiling, and profiling is wrong. Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I dead wrong. Jonathan Cooper had one of the 3 fumble recoveries, said beating Kansas City was an important achievement for Simmons, the longest tenured Bronco. Cooper said, quote, I'm so happy for him to finally get over that hump and beat this team. I think it's huge for us. And it's just we're going to carry this momentum into the bye week and to when we play these Bills, talking about the Buffalo Bills. Does it seem like Denver has turned the corner? Let me change my question. Do y'all think Denver has finally turned the corner with this win over the Chiefs? Because the Chiefs have haunted the Denver Broncos for many years, just like Tom Brady and the Patriots haunted everybody for many years. But when I looked at the highlights of this game, there was a different step to the Broncos in this game than in any other time I've seen them play the Chiefs. Especially here in Denver, especially in Denver at Mile High Stadium, there was a long time where the Broncos couldn't score over 16 points. They got 24 yesterday. There was a long time where the Broncos offense was stagnant, especially in playing the Kansas City Chiefs. They weren't stagnant yesterday. And that last drive should tell you everything you need to know. They take over at the Chiefs' 20-yard line with 4:38 left and then wind the clock all the way down to about 20 seconds, and they get the field goal that made it 24-9. There was a different step to the Bronco defense yesterday. And when I say a different step, I mean there was confidence there. There were players for the Broncos chomping at the bit to get after the Chiefs and end this streak and finally turn the corner and make some headway in the AFC West. You can tell when teams have a different step to them. When you see the moment when when the lights turn on and all the confidence is there, and you can just see it. Now, I saw it yesterday. They held nothing back, even in the loss, I should say, to the Washington Redskins. The first half, they played like that. They played like they played a full game yesterday, forcing 5 turnovers against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. You can bottle this attitude, and as you know, they said, take it into the bye week and then come back and play the Bills. There's a different vibe now to the Denver Broncos, and it feels like, I'll say it again, it feels like they finally turned the corner with Sean Payton as their head coach. Which prompts a question that I have not only to the feedback zone, but to the audience at large. What do you think was the moment that helped the Broncos turn the corner? Was it this game here? Was it the loss to the Jets? Was it something? What did you, if anybody was paying attention, what did you see? Because I can tell you it was this, I can tell you a combination of two things. One, the stinging loss to the Jets, in which Sean Payton talked a lot of mess and then had his foot put in his mouth. And secondly, this game right here. And I'll say it again, like I said at the top, there was a certain step to the Denver Broncos yesterday. There was a certain attitude change. It's like they screamed the popular song from my teenage years, from Twisted Sister, we're not going to take it anymore. And they didn't. Instead, they took the ball away 5 times from Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. You can build off of a game like if you're Denver, this can go one of two ways. Number one, they can go into the bye week and rest on their laurels, and they're all professionals, so I don't expect them to, and say, okay, we finally beat the Chiefs. We had a good season. Let's go tank the rest of the season. Or the second thing you can do, or the other thing that can happen, I'm choosing all the wrong words this morning, forgive me. The other thing that can happen is you take this performance right here. You go into the bye week, you rest, but you bottle up this attitude. You bottle up this performance. And then when you come back off the bye week and you go face the Bills, you empty the bottle every time. In every game that you have left, you empty the bottle every time. And it ain't going to be easy. It ain't going to be easy playing the Buffalo Bills, who seem to have gotten their act together. Just like the Cincinnati Bengals yesterday, the Bills seem to have gotten their act together. It seems like they've gotten their act together. And it's a Monday night game at Rich Stadium. I know it's called Highmark Stadium, but I can't call it Highmark Stadium. It's Rich Stadium. Rich Stadium has been a house of horrors to the Denver Broncos. Let me say it again. Since 1990, Rich Stadium has been a house of horrors to the Denver Broncos. Don't matter who's up or who's down between these two teams. Now, y'all remember the AFC Championship game of 1991? No one scored in the first half. And the first score of the game was an interception by Carlton Bailey. A pick 6 by Carlton Bailey at that. That made it 7-0. The Bills wound up winning 10-7. This game's at Rich Stadium. This game's going to be a whole lot of trouble for the Denver Broncos. But as I said a moment ago, you take the attitude that you had in this game when you stomped all over the Chiefs. Who's that? Hi, Binks. Come here. I got a guess. This is Binks. See how he's grown? But as I said, you take this attitude right here that you had against the Kansas City Chiefs. Go into your bye week, you rest, you heal, you bottle this up, and you take it into Rich Stadium on November 13th. You take it into a Monday night game, and you got to come out with the same energy in that game on the road that you did at home against Kansas City. because the Buffalo Bills, as maddeningly inconsistent as they have been, they are no slouch. They are no slouch. And plus, you're going to have 80,000 members of Bills Mafia screaming their heads off. 80,000 plus at Rich Stadium screaming their heads off, saying, okay, Cinderella got a little bit of life. Let's wake her up. Why are you playing with my hand, Banksy? But that's how the Buffalo Bills are going to think. And the Broncos, okay. And the Broncos are going to have to counter that with the same attitude that they went into against the Chiefs. They're going to have to do it on November 13th against the Buffalo Bills at Rich Stadium. And I think my cat's wanting out. So let me take a break. And when you all get back, we're going to sip some coffee. Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson, back in the deuce.
Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. You kids on the block. New edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Ready to hang with some fellas who know football? Let's ride. LC Muscles 28.
I think they're the most overrated defense in the league.
Steel Sermon.
We did not trail for a single second.
Tiny Tim.
McCarthy is a bonehead.
A Pizzle 90.
I'm going with my boys. Fins up, baby.
Get ready for the Four Horsemen of Peckham's. Every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central on YouTube. Poppy J.
You got the option to cry for the government. You got the option to protest. You got the option to keep buying, but this is also an option.
Wise El Jefe.
We're the first tech geeks. We're the first gamers. We're the first everything. Everything. Like Gen X's, we are the ones.
BS3 Network proudly presents the crew from the New York boroughs who never wants that smoke. Nah, they want that fire. Poppy J and Wise El Jefe. Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure.
Mister, how do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you, my dear Dr. K. 35 after the hour. Ryan McCoffey is on the way. And some interesting numbers from the Eagles. And Rob Carlton, bring him on. Sick Diggy says mentality has pretty much become therapeutic for both Cole Sports and Real Wise TV. We're just along for the ride and enjoying it. Better believe it. I know I'm along for the ride, enjoying it. I love mentality. And in case y'all don't know, mentality drops every Monday, but you can see and hear episodes 5 days a week on Snowman Multimedia Sports. Okay, Rob Carlton, bring on the numbers from the Eagles game yesterday. Let me ask this question to the fans at large and also the Fanatic Feedback Zone. Are the Falcons making the right move in starting Taylor Heineke over Desmond Ridder? Is it time to end the Ridder experiment? Rob Carlton yesterday from the Eagles game against the Redskins. He's on pace for 176 targets, 1,995 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Wow. And after the catch he made yesterday, I say he just may get it. He just may break the record for most receptions in a season. I don't know which way Mr. McCoffey is going to lean today. I'd like to talk more about the CFL, but this is his world and we're living in it. So it's about this time that we sip some coffee. Fresh off of 13-win overtime win over the Giants, Ryan McCoffey's Jets. And Ryan McCoffey himself has joined us on this Victory Monday. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
We're the luckiest GD team in the NFL. Oh, my God.
Because y'all should have lost that game. Easy.
They should have lost that game, but they didn't.
Right. I can't explain how.
I can't explain it either. I don't know why they come out so flat after their bye week.
Yep.
And that was my one fear I forgot to mention on 10 Good Minutes with Wise El Jefe. Shout out to Wise for being a willing participant in that experiment.
And that's a great series that you have going, 10 Good Minutes. And that's
Thank
great.
you. Yeah.
That was a great episode with Wise.
Thank you. Yeah, please check it out. If you I'll probably do another one this week. Maybe do a couple. We'll find. We'll see. But yeah, I was after the Giants was going we're going for that was supposed to be the dagger field goal by Graham Gano. I said in the private chat, I said to Wise, I'm like, congratulations, man. Good for your Giants. You came out and you put a whipping on us.
Mm-hmm.
And then he missed. And then he missed that field goal.
I couldn't believe he missed it.
I couldn't believe he missed it either. I'm like, I thought to myself, did I just double reverse jinx the Giants? And I'm not taking any credit for it. I'm not taking any credit for it. Then Zach Wilson decides to finally put on, all right, it's time for some urgency.
Zach Wilson decides to play Superman for about 2 minutes.
Got to talk about that after this. But yeah, 2 plays, 58 yards in 2 plays.
Yep.
Set up the game tying field goal.
Mm-hmm.
Then the defense does its thing in overtime to force the ball back to the Jets to get that pass interference. They get 2 pass interference penalties, which sets up the game-winning field goal, and Jets walk out of MetLife with a 13-10 win. And I'm still in disbelief. I'm still in disbelief today.
I saw that score after I saw Gano getting ready to line up for what should have been the dagger, as you said. And I looked at the score and I said, wait a minute, the Jets won? How?
Mm-hmm. I thought Zerline had missed that game. I thought Zerline had missed that field goal.
Yeah.
I thought it was wide. I thought it was wide right.
Mm-hmm.
But turns out it went. You could see where it crossed the uprights.
Mm-hmm.
And the camera angle. I have another group text with my brothers and my nephew, and we're all in disbelief. My nephew was in disbelief. He's like, "That was good." My brother and one of my older brothers said the same thing. He's like, "That was I can't believe that was good." Like, who do you think also thought it wasn't good? I think I thought it was like, oh no, that's not good. And all of a sudden,
I thought he missed it.
I'm going, no way.
I thought he missed it. I thought he missed it. This was 87 AFC title game with Rich Carlis all over again.
Mm-hmm.
And you couldn't tell, and they didn't have as many replays as they do now, but you couldn't tell if it was good or not. That was that game right there. That was that kick.
Yeah.
I beg your pardon, right? It's like You're a CFL fan like I, so I can make this reference. It's like the Calgary Stampeders backing their asses into the playoffs, and to this moment, with the playoffs beginning next week, we don't know how the hell it happened.
No. And I'm gonna try to do a preview with 10 good minutes this week for the CFL playoffs for the East and West semifinals.
I'll join
the one
you.
thing I will the one thing I will say that with BC and Calgary, that's the West semifinal. Right now, BC is going to BC has a bye week. It's at BC place, so BC played their last game in week 20.
Right.
So, but they lost to Calgary. So even though BC will be well rested, Calgary will have the psychological advantage.
Because
they absolutely whooped them.
Yeah, they went to BC place and stomped them.
Yep. And then last week against Winnipeg when they were home at Winnipeg. And by the way, I love snow games. I love snow games. But I watched the highlights while I was having lunch in New Jersey, and I did a turn and burn this past weekend to Southern New York and New Jersey, and came back. But I was watching the highlights, and I'm going, yeah, that's just two teams just putting their backups in. They know that they've earned their playoff spot. Winnipeg has the extra week to rest, keep out all their starters, and same thing with Calgary. They had to take out most of their starters because they got a playoff game next week.
They got to go to BC.
It's just basically the same thing for every other game this weekend. Hamilton, Montreal, they're going to play each other again this weekend. Toronto and Ottawa, and I think my biggest disappointment this season was the Ottawa Red Blacks. I think because I expected a lot from them, and then Masoli gets hurt, Arbuckle gets hurt, and you're relying on your third string rookie quarterback for the entirety of the season. And and they had too many close losses too. So, but there's two teams I have my eye on there. First of all, Toronto, because of their historic season, right? 16 wins, 16-2 in an 18 game league. And they're bound and determined to get that. They're bound and determined to get that cup to put the cherry on top of what
they're determined to get to Hamilton.
They're only the 16. They're only the second team to have 16 wins in a season.
Yeah,
and then I'm also looking at Hamilton because of Bo Levi Mitchell. So even though they lost on Saturday, but again, they had most of their reserves in for the game. So did Montreal.
Right. It's crazy. Rob Carlton joins us with a thought. The Red Blacks have won 14 games since 2018. Yikes.
That's a shame. It's a
shame.
Yikes. It's a shame.
I thought the Edmonton Elks were going through a tough time.
I can see Edmonton being a playoff team next year. If they got now that Chris Jones actually found out who his quarterback was, and Trey Ford, I think that builds a momentum. And with Geno Lewis healthy for the rest of the season too.
You know what? Geno Lewis is going to be huge for them. And when Edmonton finally found out how to win games, and I'm not talking about just getting the lead, I'm talking about closing out games. Well, I'm talking about closing out games. And when Trey Ford acts a fool in the pocket, like Joe Burrow did yesterday, escaping 3 different sacks on one play, then you know who your quarterback is. And we talked about this last week. Let's expand on that further. I believe Trey Ford should have been the starter all season long in Edmonton. If he's the starter and Geno Lewis is healthy, they're a playoff team, period.
Yep. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't disagree.
And Ottawa being the disappointment that they are. And remember, this is a team just a few years back that won a Grey Cup. I want to say 16.
2016.
16.
In overtime.
Yep. It was an overtime win. 16, they win the Grey Cup. Now to 23, they just crashed and burned. 7 short years. And you can say 7 short years that they've crashed and burned, and they got to rebuild all over again. And they got to start at the quarterback position because Just like with a few other teams that we talked about throughout the course of the year, no matter what league we're talking about, you got to start at the quarterback position. Who's their quarterback going into next year?
That's great. That's your guess is as good as mine. It could be Jeremiah Masoli. It could be Nick Arbuckle. It could be Dustin Crum. We don't know. Won't know until training camp comes along and they have their preseason games and Coach Dice, if he's still there.
Do you think he goes?
I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah,
I think he deserves another year just because of the chaos with the injuries that happened this year.
And you took the exact thought out of my head. He deserves another year because there was so much chaos going on with the injuries and having to put patchwork lines together and patchwork lineups together. I thought you
don't want to be you don't want to be the Houston Texans of the CFL.
Exactly.
Where you go through 5 head coaches in the span of 4 seasons?
4 seasons, exactly. And the win against Winnipeg, I thought would propel them.
That's what I thought too.
I thought the comeback win against Winnipeg, because they were down 25-9 with less than 4 minutes to go.
Yep.
They wound up winning that game 31-28 in overtime. I thought it would propel them. Instead, that was the point where they peaked. And after that, they just crashed.
Yeah. And I believe they also had a lot of close losses too, unless they played Toronto.
A lot of close. Look, anybody that played Toronto this year, it wasn't close, except for the 2 times they lost. And one of them was in Calgary, 20-7.
Yeah, and I remember, if I remember correctly, Chad Kelly exited that game early with an ankle injury.
Yeah, he did. That was the game where he left early. But now,
and he didn't play in Winnipeg.
No,
it was Dukes who played in Winnipeg, and he still did.
And they still made it look easy.
Yeah,
and they still made it look easy.
You know, it's and you know what? We talked about this last week about the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I thought it was going to be Black Monday for both Jeremy O'Day and Craig Dickinson, and it turns out Craig Dickinson was the one who got let go. They didn't renew his contract, and Jeremy O'Day extended his contract. So I'm going to put this question to you, Snowman.
Yes, sir.
Who do you see as the next coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders?
That's a damn good question. And I counter with this one. Who wants that job? Especially given the chaos of the last 2 seasons. 3 seasons, as a matter of fact. Who would want to take that chance?
I got 3 names. I got 3 names. I can rattle off to you. I wouldn't say necessarily they want to be the head coach, but I can rattle off 3 names they have in mind.
Go for it.
All right. So listening, I gotta give a shout to Rod Peterson, give him his flowers for this. Because he's the one who reported it, who's been getting reports. He relayed it on his program last week. Henry Burris, who's currently the tight ends coach in Los Angeles.
I think that would be their top choice.
Yeah, and he's been in the NFL's coaching diversity program for I think the last 2 or 3 seasons, I believe, because he was in Chicago. I believe he was in Chicago. Then he moved on to, I can't remember which team he moved on to. But now he's with Los Angeles with the Chargers.
Right.
So that's one candidate. Second candidate would be Winnipeg offensive coordinator Buck Pierce.
I don't know if he'll leave.
I doubt he'll leave. I mean, Police left, and we saw what happened to him in Ottawa. It's
too good of a gig in Winnipeg right now. Too much. It's like that would be like the Eric Bieniemy situation.
Yeah,
he's
just a coach. He's just a coach. He's a coach in waiting. He's the associate head coach. So
that would be Eric Bieniemy all over again.
Yeah. So if O'Shea decides to leave or retire, then they probably bring up Buck Pierce to head the sideline. My third candidate, Scott Flory, head coach of the University of Saskatchewan. He's a former CFLer. I believe he was with both Montreal teams when they won the Grey Cup in 2009 and 2010. And he's been coach of that program for the last, I think, 4 seasons. I don't know how it is in the CFL if they like to bring in U Sports head coaches. I know it kind of worked in Montreal when they brought in Danny Machocha to be their coach GM for a bit, and then he's now the GM. He was with the University of Montreal, but he was also head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos from 2005, and they won a Grey Cup with him. So, I don't know how often they bring up U Sports or college football head coaches in Canada to be part of a CFL team as a head coach, but I wonder if Scott Flory will be the first to make that step forward.
Well, my thought is Henry Burris is so very familiar with the CFL. He's a champion. He's won Grey Cups, and he would know how to revive that team, put it together, and get the right pieces in place, especially now with him learning from coaches in the NFL, even though he's in a totally different capacity. I would think Henry Burris would be the logical choice.
I have to think so too, but it'll depend on how much he wants it. Because I don't know how much they make. I don't know how much assistant coaches make in the NFL.
Right.
But you got to imagine it's a pretty nice chunk of change. Plus he's been an analyst on TSN, and
it would be natural. It would be natural for Henry Burris to be the coach. Not only do I prompt your question of does he want it? My question is, does he need it? Does he need that stress of trying to basically rebuild in Saskatchewan?
I don't necessarily think there's one or two areas that the Rough Riders need. They need help on O-line.
Yes.
Their O-line was atrocious this year, and they were part of the. I'm not putting the blame at them, but there was a reason why Trevor Harris was out for the rest of the year. And you don't want a pocket quarterback, a guy who's a pocket quarterback, to be running the ball.
Yeah.
And you know what happened in that game against Calgary? He winds up breaking his fibula and tibia. Done for the rest of the year. They missed the play, and they go on that epic slide, losing 7 in a row to end of the year and missing out in the playoffs once again. So the one thing, I think the one area they've got plenty of weapons and wide receiver.
They need an offensive line. Bad.
They need an O-line to protect their quarterback. That's the one area of weakness they have.
The other area of weakness for me would be their defensive line, because if you look at how they played throughout the course of the year, A, it's been inconsistent, and B, they haven't gotten a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterbacks.
No. Yeah, and the way you win in football is in the trenches. That's how I that's look.
That's as old school that's as old school as it gets. You win in the trenches.
My favorite all-time head football coach, Bill Parcells.
Bill Parcells.
What did he do? What did he always do when he went somewhere? He built from the lines out. Lines out.
From the lines out.
And speaking of lines, Jets got to do something about that O-line, because
that O-line's a sieve.
That O-line
I hate saying it. That O-line is a sieve.
It is. No, it absolutely is. And two more linemen went down yesterday. Karma McGovern was seen in a walking boot, and
there's no depth.
This
is what you had feared at the top of the season, even after the signing of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
you can have the best quarterback in the world. If you don't have a line to protect him, you're going to have a problem. And what's happened? Rodgers is gone for the year. Zach Wilson's taken another beating, even though they won yesterday.
Rodgers might be coming back, but I don't know what kind of magical healing powers he has, swimming with dolphins or being in a hyperbaric chamber. I don't know what he's doing, but he's on the field yesterday. He's tossing passes. He's bouncing around on his foot like nothing happened to him. So now, I will say this: would that game have been a lot different if Aaron Rodgers was quarterback? Yes,
I think it would be.
I think it would have been.
I think it would be.
It still would have been a defensive battle, but I think the Jets would have put up more points.
At least 20.
At least 20.
They left a whole bunch of points on the table yesterday.
Oh, they did. They didn't reach.
Either team could have walked out of there with a blowout victory. Either team.
Yeah, if they had capable offenses.
Mm-hmm.
And that and
Got me
Damn you, Cole.
Cole Johnson.
Damn you, Cole.
Oh, sorry.
And
Tagalong
here
says
is
hello.
hi, Tagalong.
I'm sorry. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Mr. Johnson.
Good morning, Mr. McCarthy. Good morning, Mr. Snow. I know
Why
you're happy
you-
considering that the Jets
Why
eked
you
out a bowling shoe ugly victory.
Oh, it was double bowling shoe pug fugly game. Oh,
Pug Thugly. Wow.
Pug Fugly?
you
We gotta
hear
start
that
using
pretty
that.
much every day.
We gotta start using that.
Oh my goodness.
Pug Fugly.
Double bowling shoe pug
Double bowling
fugly.
shoe Pug Fugly. And anybody who has anybody who's gone bowling know how ugly those shoes are. It was ugly. Dear God, it was ugly. Ryan McCarthy joining us as he does every single Monday on the program, talking all kinds of football. And thank you for joining us, my friend. Very, very much appreciated. We appreciate it.
I do need to address a couple things. But I gotta give a couple quick shout outs. First of all, R.I.P. Rest in peace, Matthew Perry. Man,
Yes.
that was way too soon. And the one thing I'm discovering is that he said in an interview, he says, I don't want to be known as a guy who was just on Friends. I want to be known as a guy who helped people.
Yeah.
And when he went to rehab, I guess he established his own rehab for alcohol and substance abuse. So gone too soon, way too soon. So rest in peace, Matthew Perry.
Way too soon.
Second thing, congratulations to the South Africa rugby team for their repeat of the World Cup. They beat New Zealand in the World Cup. All three of their knockout stage wins were by 1 point.
Nice.
Against France, host France, against England, and against New Zealand. Thirdly,
Very nice.
and I know how you talked about the Kansas City Chiefs loss yesterday to Denver Broncos. I gotta give proper flowers to my co-host Dustin because he addressed this last week. And he said about that offense, he said to the extent that I don't get why this offense isn't as explosive as it has been. And I can point to one reason why. Look at who their offensive coordinator is.
Yep.
Look what happened with, and they miss Eric Bieniemy.
They miss Bieniemy so much because they're not having as much fun. Matt freaking Nagy, the man who ruined Mitch Trubisky, because Trubisky would have been a hell of a quarterback if Matt Nagy didn't get a hold of him. That's all I got to say.
Yep.
If Matt Nagy didn't get a hold of Mitch Trubisky and turn him into check down Trubisky, then Trubisky would be, dare I say it, he'd be the Bears franchise quarterback if Matt Nagy wasn't the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. And now you're seeing what would have happened.
2018.
Now you see what would have happened if the Bears had drafted Mahomes.
Yes.
And you're seeing it before your very eyes what Matt Nagy would have done with him if he was the Bears head coach and Mahomes was.
Because you're seeing it right now.
Was his quarterback? Yeah, you're seeing it right before your very eyes.
You're seeing Pat Mahomes being pedestrian. Very, very, very pedestrian.
Yep.
Very pedestrian. All right. Thank you, Ryan. When are you on next?
Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Because of Halloween, we're going to be delaying. We're going to be delaying the live show. So we're going to go on live on Wednesday. One more quick appeal for everyone. I'm going to put the link in the chat for Dustin. He's raising money for a local children's hospital. He's going to be playing video games for 24 consecutive hours, starting this Saturday night, or this Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Be playing video games for 24 hours straight to help raise money for this great cause.
Cool.
So I'll put the link in the chat. If you feel it in your heart to give, you can give a little bit. I mean, even if it's just $1, He's got an end goal of 1,100. He did 1,000 last year. He's going to try to do 1,100 this year. Even if it's just $1, just to say, look, I'm supporting your cause. Please donate. I'm going to be donating later this afternoon, and some family for their appeal. So hopefully the audience can find it in their hearts to donate. It's a great cause.
We will get it done. We will get it done, because I'll drop something toward the tail end of this week. All right. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thanks, fellas.
You now know what I go through when my kittens decide to crawl under my set and you see part of my corner fall down. Because I saw you struggling with one corner and then the other corner. This is why I confessed to my wife this morning that she was right, and that I'm just gonna get a solid screen back here and put the green screen up on that, or get a folding green screen, because these two poles that I'm using are biting the dust right before our eyes.
I know the feeling.
Because it's like I saw with you. One corner goes down, fix that. Then the other corner goes down, fix that. Then then the first corner goes down again, and you're like,
back to the same thing. Yep.
Yes. Like, what the hell do we have to do? I gave my thoughts on the 49ers last night. I gave the good news and the bad news, more bad than good, but there are some good news. But when we come back, I saw a sacrilege yesterday, and it wasn't at Levi's Stadium. It's halftime here on Snowman in the Morning with Cole Johnson. Both of us are going to fix our sets, and then Cole Johnson is going to go off when y'all get back.
Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here.
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
If you talk and they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
He was only 58 years old when he passed away. That outcome could have been different.
Colorado happens to be one of the worst states for radon levels.
It's in our ground, and it seeps up.
The more you breathe radon, the more chance you have of DNA being hit and the cell mutated. The EPA estimates 22,000 lung cancer deaths a year caused by radon.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Have fun. Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Mister? How do you operate this Twitter thing or this Instagram thing or whatever the heck? You're supposed to know all this stuff. Anyway, welcome back to the show.
What in the all? I'm sorry. Hour 2 Snowman in the morning is here. Cole Johnson looks about as discombobulated as I do in trying to get started with the day. You look like you've been swamped at your office today, man. Is it that bad?
Well, when you have to fill in for somebody, it can be.
Ouch. Ouch. So you have to fill in.
Yeah.
And I say with a sarcastic smile on my face because I've been there. That's so much fun, isn't it?
Loads.
I like I said, I can see with the look on your face. It's Monday. Your set's going crazy. My set's going crazy. I finally let my kitten Binks out because he peeked outside and looked for a moment, looked right, looked left, and then he jumped out. Okay. I saw something beyond cringeworthy. And it was in Nashville, Tennessee. I looked at the end zones. I looked at the 50-yard line. I looked at the uniforms.
Yes, sir. Yep.
And I went, what the hell is that? Matter of fact, give me this button right here. Matter of fact, Chris,
what in the all types of blue hell
was that?
Well, back in May, the beloved Oilers quarterback of the late 80s and early 90s, Warren Moon, who's still affiliated with the team, he talked with the, I almost feel like I have a headache when I'm talking about this crap. But he...
I get it, man. I get it.
So he talked with the brass and ownership group of the Titans. And 5 months ago, almost 6 now, they said that, oh, yes, we're going to be bringing back the Oilers jerseys. Yes, so
I wasn't here when you initially.
We got a chance yesterday to.
I was ill the day you initially went off on this, but I will say this to you because this is a team effort. Because there's one I'm going to do as well. Fry their asses. Cool. And that look right there, folks, signals everything. And I had a chance to see Nissan Stadium. Good grief.
It was 1:25 p.m. Eastern.
Oh dear.
12:25 where Nashville is yesterday. And I saw the unis, I saw the end zones, and I saw midfield. And I was heartbroken. But I wasn't shell shocked because I knew this day was coming. because they announced it way back in May.
Which clouded every bit of your days because I know how you feel.
That the Titans were going to dust off the Oilers uniforms and helmets. And now that the NFL has allowed teams to wear more than one helmet, they can unveil, of course, the traditional white helmet with the thick blue stripe, with the white stripes adorning each side of blue, and the scarlet red to adorn the white stripes beyond it, and the oil derrick on each side.
And they were at the 50-yard line. Ain't that a bitch? That oil derrick was at the 50-yard line. They didn't even put the helmet around it. Ain't that a bitch?
So Hall of Famer Warren Moon,
and I love that Hall of Famer Warren Moon.
Yeah, he adorned my wall when I was in high school,
Mhm.
and junior high school. He revealed on FanDuel TV's Up and Adams back in May that the Titans will bring the Oilers uniforms out of mothballs as throwback jerseys for this upcoming season.
Out of mothballs. Good gracious.
So, Mr. Moon, good Lord, this is really ridiculous to me. So, Mr. Moon, he talked with Amy Adams Strunk, who now is the owner of the team, who
Adam Drunk,
and of course, is the daughter of K.S. Adams, who now
did you say it? Did you say Adam's drunk? I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, not to be confused with Strunk. Yes.
Okay.
But yes, but she's the daughter of KS or Bud or Idiot.
Big time idiot.
And gosh,
Go ahead.
I'm just getting more and more ill by the second. So had that meeting with her, and he said about that meeting, quote, I talked with the owner about it. She was wanting for the helmets to be approved. Now that you can wear the helmet, we're wearing the whole uniform this year, and it could be against the Houston Texans. Close quote. Now, cut to last week. I think it was Tuesday. And so you all know that I do a show with our brother, my collective brother Drew Willingham.
Yes.
Also the football talk. And I basically have to comb through all 32 teams when I do it. And so I get to the Falcons Titans game, and I see as advertisement in the lettering of the Oilers.
Oh boy.
Quote,
oh boy. Oh boy.
The Oilers are back. Close quote.
Here comes the Hulk.
The Oilers are back. The Oilers are gone.
I'll do it for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I agree with you, Ryan. The Seahawks retro unis were crisp.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is...
And I'll get on Seattle in a minute.
The thing is, the Oilers uniforms were crisp, too. I loved it. It was great. It was a wonderful flashback to an era gone by and a time not remembered, definitely by the area where I live. But it was beautiful. It was wonderful to see it, except it made me ill.
Very.
Because it wasn't just going to be unveiled against the Texans. which they will be coming to Nissan Stadium December 17th, where you will see the same display that we saw yesterday.
Dear God.
Because they unveiled it for the Falcons game. The Columbia blue, the white, and the scarlet. It was unveiled and displayed throughout that stadium with the Oilers logo stapled and painted at each end zone, the Oil Derrick at midfield, and the Oil Derrick helmets strewn all throughout the wall of the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. Strunk, you already know the deal. Your father was an absolute coward for leaving Houston because your pops wanted to leave Houston long before then. You remember back in 1980. Now, you all may not know, but I know you do, Miss Strunk, because you were a young adult then. You remember back in 1987 when your father was crying broke. What he always cried broke, because that's just how he was.
That's the cheap ass that he was. Stan Kroenke, anyone?
He always claimed he was broke and poor. He hated the fact that he had to rent to the Astros for the Astrodome, and he wanted to get out that situation. And so he looked to Jacksonville. He thought that was going to be the place. He eyed Gator Bowl, and he said, this is where our team is going to settle. But then Harris County, the county where Houston
said no.
They said no, and they said, you know what we'll do, bud? We will give you renovations in the Astrodome. We'll put more luxury boxes. We'll give you the scoreboard, which of course eliminated the legendary scoreboard that used to adorn the wall of the Astrodome
all the way around.
Whenever the Astros played baseball there. And in lieu of that, there were more seats. And so he upped the capacity in the stadium, upped the luxury boxes there, and renovated the Astrodome to Adam's satisfaction. Or so we thought.
Dear Lord.
Because 7 years later, after that miraculous run where the Oilers made the playoffs every year since then, since 1987 to 1993, but basically catching a little bit of the Cowboys flu of not reaching the AFC Championship game in each of those 7 years. At the end of the 1993 season,
which was the most tumultuous year in Houston.
Yeah, gosh, how they managed to win an AFC Central Championship still is beyond me, but and get a number 2 seed in the making, but I don't know how. I digress. That was the season, and for those might remember a little bit, this was the last time we got a chance to see Joe Montana sprinkle his playoff magic and take the team from a 13-0 deficit, and they beat the Oilers and knocked them out the playoffs 28-20.
28-20.
Thanks to a nice back shoulder throw to Davis, and then an up the middle run by Allen to seal the deal. Now,
and Allen strutted into the end zone on that run.
Yeah, because he was virtually untouched.
And that came, that game-sealing run, folks, came after the 2-minute warning, part 1, and part 2. Houston had used all their timeouts.
And it came with no time. It came after Houston used all their timeouts. That game signified the city saying, we give up on the team. Now, I'll admit that. But you have to also admit, it's kind of frustrating when and I'm talking about your father, Miss Strunk. When your father was selling the goods, something like Gerard would. This is a Super Bowl caliber team.
I love that accent.
And the Super Bowl caliber team fell short year after year. We would have been happy if they made it to Buffalo to play in the AFC Championship game and still got trounced. But we would have said, wow, finally progress. But a lot of the reason why we all felt collectively this was it was because you had a lot of players like Moon, who was 37, who was old.
Yep.
Let's just put it out there. They were old. You know, they were in their 30s. They were past their prime. They in a crude way of saying, they shot their load.
Several times.
Then you had your father, and you were now in your 30s then, Miss Stark. You had your father.
In a word
March
around the campfire.
March downtown and then unveil a football only stadium to place probably where Minute Maid eventually came, but you wanted to actually place it in the center, in the heart of downtown. Where could you put the stadium there, sir? There was no room to put the stadium anywhere in the middle of downtown, which for those who are in the know would be, say, Main Street and Walker Street.
Uh-huh.
There was no room to place that stadium there. There was no empty lots there. The empty lots basically would be near where I-69 / Highway 59 is. Basically where Minute Maid Park sits. That's where you would have the place there for the stadium. But that's not where you wanted to put it. You didn't want to put it there. You didn't want to put it where Toyota Center sits. No, you wanted it at the heart of downtown. And then when you didn't get the funding and you didn't get the backing of the city, you saw your father take his ball, act like a petulant child, and went to shake the hand of the mayor of Nashville in October 1995.
Yep. Game over.
And so then the next year happens. After that, everything of the Oilers went. Everything the Oilers left. Everything of the Houston Oilers left with you all. Everything. And it was frustrating. It was frustrating to watch. It was frustrating to see. It was ridiculous to understand that you all would keep the Oilers name, and then actually you would be called the Tennessee Oilers for 2 years after that.
Dear Lord.
And so all of the beauty of what the Oilers were was tainted. And now forever tainted, because we were seeing that wonderful white helmet with the Columbia blue oil derrick and the Columbia blue stripe with the white stripes and the scarlet stripes outside of it. We were seeing it being worn on another stadium, and another place was calling them home. Now, Memphis really didn't embrace them all that much, and I can understand that, because they weren't Oilers. They weren't Memphis. I understood that. But credit to OKS, credit to your father, Mrs. Strunk. He sold the bill of goods to Nashville, and they were happy. But what made it better was that they just simply overhauled the change, and then they became the Titans in 1999, and then they go to the Super Bowl that very same year. So that basically made Nashville fall all in love with this new, brand spanking new team that was really ours for 40 years. See, because you all don't know the names of El Mathé. You don't know the names of Robert Brazil. You don't know that George Blanda actually had a stint with the Oilers. You're unaware of Bum Phillips. To me, the best coach the Oilers ever had. You might know Jerry Glanville, but you didn't understand it. You could care less about Jack Pardee. I would say Jack who? And then there's other wonderful players. Now, you knew Mike Munchak because he became a coach with the Titans. You knew of Bruce Matthews because he played for the Titans too.
Yep.
But then there's Childress, and then there's
Bubba McDowell,
there's Bub McDowell, there's Chris Dishman,
Ernest Givens, anyone? Haywood Jeffries, Alan Pinkett.
There's Curtis Duncan, and then there was Drew Hill, who was a member of the Rams, who also became the favorite target of Warren Moon before he retired. And when he left, Wesley Slaughter, who was the bane of the Oilers' successes, became the best pass receiver for the Oilers. And of course, the running backs from Highsmith to Brown to White to Pinkett. You weren't aware of those. You weren't aware of them. You weren't aware of Mike Rozier being on the team.
Mike Rozier out of Nebraska.
And I dare say that you have no clue about the era in which this song debuted. And yes, I know part of it is the Miami Dolphins song that the team co-opted. But you had wonderful stalwart players like Bingham and Brazil but as I mentioned earlier, and Vernon Perry on the defensive end. And the offensive end, you had Rob Carpenter, you had Dante Pastorini, Earl Burroughs, you had Billy White Shoes Johnson, you had Barber, and then Casper later on, and even the Snake, Ken Stapler, who played in 1980. You weren't aware of them. And then there is the running back that, to me, was the prototype of all running backs in Earl Campbell.
Number 34.
That history does not belong in Nashville, yet it's adorned on all of the Nassau Stadium wall, along with Wycheck and George and McNair.
All over the world. And Air McNair started in Houston, folks. Don't get it twisted. Air McNair, before they moved, they had Air McNair and Eddie George. They were the Houston Oilers first.
Yeah. So to see Oiler greats adorn a stadium where the city and the area have no idea nor clue as to what these greats were and how much they meant to a city and an organization and a town and an area is sickening. And what makes it even more sickening is that you have your team adorn jerseys where they cannot get into the nostalgia factor of our team is back. I remember those wonderful days. Like how the Seahawks could do it yesterday. They went with the blue jerseys with the silver pants and the silver helmet, where Seattle faithful could say, "Man, I remember those days. Man, I remember when Largent and Zorn wore those uniforms. Oh, I remember when Cortez Kennedy was just.
I remember Cortez Kingdom.
I remember. I remember when Kenny Easley and Cortez Kennedy was just wreaking havoc on offenses. You see what I mean? Seattle could actually do that. Nashville cannot.
Nope.
Why? Because Houstonians had to see the pain worn in the Columbia Blue in an area, in a place, and an organization that simply has no clue. Now, I'm not saying that Nashvillians are bad. No, they just simply are going with what they know. They're going with what they're being fed. And and to them, it's like, oh, there's cute jerseys. Oh, I love the fact that Columbia Blue, that's nice. That's wonderful. It's a jersey to Nashvillians. It's memories and nostalgia for a Houston Oilers fan like me. And so, Shield, you're not getting away with this. When you had that slick back pig walk out of Houston with those uniforms, and you didn't allow the deal to be cut with Houston like you did with Cleveland when Art Modell moved them to Baltimore, and you said, oh no, you're not moving the Browns. You have to come up with another team of your own. Well, you allowed them to bring all of that there, and they changed their name, and they changed their nickname, and we were left holding the bag. And now we are going to be embarrassed looking at this team that has no clue, no history, no tie. And then when we see them the next time, when you see those uniforms, it will be against the Houston Texans on December 17th.
Oh boy.
That's the next time you will see them. You will see the they're on the 50-yard line. You see the Oilers name and logo painted in the end zones. You'll see the helmet strewn all over the stadium. You'll see all the greats that is strewn all over, that has been playing for the team since 1960, and they didn't play in Nashville until 1999. All of that is what you will see again come December 17th, when you see the team in battle red and white and Liberty white and steel blue walk up into Nissan Stadium, and they will look at their own team, they'll look at their own city's history staring at them in the face, with people who could not appreciate them watching. Nashvilleians can appreciate that.
No.
Not because they don't have appreciation, it's because they don't have a tie to them. Not like us, not like Houstonians. They didn't go through the Love You Blue era. They didn't go through when the Steel Curtain was the only team that was better than they were. When when they were the second best team in the NFL, but the best team just so happened to play in their own division. When they were laying waste to every other team but them.
They will remember a Christmas Day defensive slobber knocker at Candlestick Park between two eventual division champions. They won't remember Vin Scully and his mouth dropping through the floor in the Astrodome when Earl Campbell literally tore away from his tackler and they had to find another uniform for him. They won't remember Alan Pinkett's debut in the Astrodome. They won't remember how many times Houston had to go through Cleveland to clinch a division title, only to see them 1 week later. Continue, sir.
Well, actually, I'll get to that season in a second. You see, you didn't have 1978, where you saw this guy who debuted with legs as thick as beer barrels, but could move like an Olympic sprinter, gain 199 yards and have 4 touchdowns, and actually have a smart aleck like Howard Cosell not say anything but look at that football player. You see, Nashvilleians can't share in that history. Houstonians can. Nashvilleians can't share in the battle that was the AFC Central, where it seemed as if you did not know who of the 4 teams was going to win that division. Of course, the Oilers didn't win it until 1991, but they couldn't. But you didn't know who. Every team had a shot. And the 1988 season, actually, the Bengals won the division, and they were chasing the Bengals, and the Oilers could have eliminated the Browns by beating them in that dump called Cleveland Stadium. They didn't. And the Oilers had to return back there to play them in the wild card round, where they did beat them, only to sort of waste away in Buffalo the next week. But you could have seen those jerseys. I mean, it was beautiful, even as a 15-year-old then, to watch them when Cleveland used to wear the white jerseys at home. And you got a chance to see that Columbia blue just shine even in a dump like Cleveland Stadium,
where half the turf was missing.
Where half the turf was painted green.
Yeah,
because it was dirt.
And it was sand.
It was beautiful, actually, to see that Columbia blue shine in a dump like Cleveland Stadium. And I'm not insulting Cleveland. They will tell you that stadium was a dump too. I know, because I know a couple of guys who live in Cleveland, and they will tell you.
Same.
It was a dump, and they'll tell you how much it was a dump more than we would. But it was beautiful to see those jerseys in that winter day. just shine. And it was great to see that team fight hard every single time. And Nashvilleians will understand that they forged that identity when Glanville came, called the House of Pain. You don't remember those things because that didn't happen for you. It happened with us. The ridiculous season that was 1993. When you had Babygate, you had Babygate, you had offense and defense coordinators having fights on the sideline. Yes, Buddy Wright and Kevin Gilbride, and you had a guy who committed suicide in Houston, and was, well, this is a family show. All of that happened in a season where they won 11 games in a row, went through all the competition, got the number 2 seed, and got the chance to play at home for the first time in the divisional round against a Joe Montana-led Chiefs squad. That was the first ever home game that the Oilers had in a divisional round. And then the organization was only 33 years in existence. Now, they've hosted wildcard games, but never a divisional round game. And unfortunately, they fell short. And Montana, well, being the smart guy that he was, poked holes all throughout the 46 defense and made them look silly. But those are memories that didn't happen in Nashville. That didn't happen in Nashville. That happened in Houston. And so why are we subjected to having Houston memories adorned on uniforms in a city that does not understand them, that does not have a tie to them, that does not have a connection with them? It's not like Ryman. It's not like the Grand Ole Opry. It's not like the things that Nashvilleians can hold on to and say, yes, that is ours. Those uniforms are not theirs. Those uniforms are Houstonians. And the NFL, you did a poor job in protecting that. How dare you allow a greedy punk like K.S. Adams walk out of the city with our identity attached to it? Oh, I understand why. It's all about money, right? And you figured that when Houston actually became a franchise again, and they were rechristened the Texans, that you would stick it to Bud and say, well, hey, you were playing the same division as the Texans. Cold comfort. Cold comfort. Made even colder by the fact that you have the team that left us high and dry, without an NFL's franchise for 3 years. Well, more than that. Well, 3 years before and then 3 years after they announced there was going to be a team that was going to be in Houston. You thought that this would be something that would be comfort for us. No, not really. And yes, there isn't a team I dislike more than the Titans. You can give me 49ers, you can give me Cowboys, you can give me any other team. I won't hate any of them. Not even close to as much as I do the Titans. Not even the Jaguars and the Colts do I have disdain as much for them as I do for the Titans. You know why? Because when I see those uniforms on a team that doesn't belong, and a team that doesn't respect it, and a team that doesn't deserve it, that is why I realize the team that I rooted for the most, the team that I loved the most, the team that I had adorned on my wall as a child and as a young adult, now is the team that I want to be crushed, buried, and disheveled in my adulthood. The Tennessee Titans should not exist at all.
Preach.
Because the punk of an owner, not the current one, she's just a puppet, but her father.
I'm your puppet. Sorry.
Decided to greedily take his ball and run because he was called to the carpet on being the greedy fascist pig that he was. And he, with his Richie Rich ways and his oil money, decided to run out. He had the money.
Insert
He
Alex.
wasn't broke. He just cried poor.
Insert Alex Trebek. Insert Alex Trebek here. You deleted expletive.
And to put the cherry on top of this crap Sunday.
Oh, there's more? I thought there was only one. Okay.
NFL, I got to thank you. I do have to thank you. Because now you give me the reason to root for a team to go 0-17 every single season.
Amen.
Thank you for that. Unfortunately, it just so happens to be the team that used to be my childhood fantasy. And now I have to trade in rooting for guys who wore that uniform like Earl Campbell to hating on guys who wear the uniform like Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
My, how times change.
Speaking of time. I met this fellow 3 years ago, and he's still a big part of the program. Jay Spivey joins us as he does each and every Monday. Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing?
We're doing
Feel
good.
better now.
Cole, by the way, Snowman, Cole, by the way, I just heard what you said.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine what you're going through in terms of what they did yesterday.
Oh,
but heck of a commentary by you. So I applaud you for that.
This is why I wait. This is why I waited, because I knew Cole had this on his heart, and it's always going to be on his heart. Speaking of stuff being on people's hearts, Jay and I had a chance to converse on Friday when I was going through an incident, and then Jay messaged me about a certain network being on air, and we're going to have a little fun here because made a little discovery, and thank you, Jay, for this. That little network that Jay and I were supposed to be a part of, I have 3 words that's going to shock Cole to pieces, and it's going to shock the Fanatics feedback zone.
Good, because Cole needs a smile on his face.
Yes, he does, and here it is. That little network, and I emphasize the word little, never paid us.
Nope. Not a penny. Not a penny.
Cole's look says everything. Here's the bad part. And yes, I am directly calling an audible after what happened in Carolina yesterday and Saturday against Georgia Tech. Get to that in a minute. I met Jay through this person. I didn't know how things were going to go. This person who I wouldn't say, and Cole, I need you to look at the camera for this because you're going to get a kick out of this. You know how people sort of kind of volunteer to help you,
mm-hmm.
and then they wind up taking your project?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? 3 years ago, that happened because he volunteered, quote unquote, to do what you were doing without saying anything further. And the first time I talked to Jay on the air, we recorded our conversation and said, quote, producer, close quote, said, keep the segment to 15 minutes. Well, I got Jay on the line and we talked for 45 minutes. And the best part about it, I didn't edit a thing. And Jay asked me, do you think he'll get mad at you? And my response to Jay was simple. Do I care?
Oh my goodness.
And the one subject that I was told, here, let me get the button ready because I think y'all know where I'm going. The one subject that I was told to not, actually two, there were two sports I was told never to talk about on the program. One of them was hockey. And the other one, as y'all know, is my childhood sport, baseball.
But why couldn't you talk about them, Superman?
He said his listeners didn't care about baseball. I want to know how you know that.
Oh, hold on.
Got me up.
Somehow I knew that button was coming.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he bluntly said to Jay and to myself and to a few others, don't talk about baseball because people don't watch or listen to or don't like baseball. Which
as many times as I was on that show, there was only one time that we ever talked about baseball, and that was when Hank Aaron died.
Yes.
And he said, I felt like it was necessary to talk about it. I don't remember much. He said, I don't remember much about Hank Aaron, but you guys love baseball, so you guys talk about Hank Aaron.
And after we taped that particular conversation, I got a hold of Jay. And before I even said anything, his next question to me was, you're going to talk more about baseball, right? And this is spring of 2020. This is end of 2020, top of 2021. And it was the episode right after I apologized to the Houston Astros. This is after my apology to the Houston Astros. A couple days later, we taped the Hank Aaron conversation. Then Jay comes to me and says, you are going to talk more baseball, aren't you? Doggone right I am. Because I love baseball, period. But no, this guy, and this is where I weave in what happened in Atlanta on Saturday night. This guy told me to my face that I need to talk more Carolina athletics. I don't mean Duke. I don't mean North Carolina State. No.
University of North Carolina.
When I sent that particular list to Jay, and Jay, I could just feel the look on your face when you saw it.
Oh my! I mean, it's a straight up case of what I know, and
I wonder if said person's even mentioned the fact that his team has lost 2 in a row to teams they had no business losing to.
Especially Georgia Tech when they led by.
They shouldn't have lost at home to Virginia.
Exactly. They lost by 4 at home to Virginia, and they lost by 4 on the road at Georgia Tech.
And they're talking about a ton of no-shows this coming Saturday at home against Campbell.
Why are we surprised?
This is why Carolina has never been successful in football. And I go back to this, that they did this as well Saturday. No other school would have done this. Now think about this. The football team is in Atlanta at 8 o'clock. At the very same time, they played an exhibition men's basketball game in Chapel Hill at the very same time. Why would you do that? What other school is going to play a basketball game head-to-head when your team is 300 miles away on national TV?
I have no idea. I'm glad I'm not in charge of that kind of scheduling. I just don't.
It's the arrogance that they only think about one sport in that school. It's just mind-boggling to me.
And it's basketball.
It's always been basketball. It's always been about basketball there.
Well, they wonder why they're going to get left in the shuffle here unless the Big Ten or SEC grabs them here. That's why.
Well, they're going to They're going to get lost in the dust.
Because
And
they
the only
don't
reason anybody
fully,
want them is because they have a brand name,
That's it.
because they don't fully
and
grasp.
because both the Big Ten and the SEC wants the state of North Carolina market because they don't have that market yet.
No, they don't.
Unfortunately, though, I mean, North Carolina just as a
And I've seen.
as
Go
a-
ahead.
as an athletic body, North Carolina seems to not fully grasp how important football is.
Well, their fans don't.
No, their
Their
fans
fans don't at
don't
all.
care. I have never, in the 2 years I lived. In the 2 years Jody and I lived in North Carolina, and she used to ask me this a lot. Is it when they played at home at Kenan Stadium? Is it a sellout? And I tell her no.
Nope. I mean, and that was the case when I lived there for a couple of years. I mean,
They haven't had.
you know how bad it was. NC State had a bigger presence in football when I was living there.
Oh, it's way bigger. Way bigger.
Yes.
Now they play in an almost 60,000 seat stadium, which to me, amazingly, as big as that school is, and they never fill it up hardly ever.
No,
and they're talking about 20,000 this weekend against Campbell. That's embarrassing.
Not even the student section. Not even the student section at Kenan Stadium gets full every home game. Not even that.
Wow.
And I'll listen. I wasn't Mac Brown's biggest fan, especially when he was at Texas.
I certainly wasn't.
Listen, he's done a heck of a job recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these last 2 games notwithstanding, he's done a pretty good job coaching.
Yeah.
But nobody down there respects football.
Nope. I saw it live, and I know you did too.
I have a really good friend who's much older than I am, but he and I are good friends, and he's a Carolina grad, and all he ever talks about is basketball. He never talks about football.
And that's Well, Jay, I mean, you live in the States, so you know what I'm about to say is fact.
Yeah.
It could be baseball season. I mean, the spring. I mean, after the Final Four stuff.
Yeah.
It could be April, May, June.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still talking about basketball season. And I was so shocked when I saw in the fall. And I think Carolina had a decent season when I was there. The first year,
mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, all right. So they should be talking big about Carolina football. No, they were talking about can they win the national championship in the spring. I'm like, it's October. You're playing an arch rival because I think they're playing Duke that day.
They were playing Duke. And
I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. You're playing an arch rival. I figured and your team's doing well. I figured you'd be focused on that. No. You're focused on when you actually see them in basketball. I'm like, wow.
At least, we consider Kansas and Kentucky basketball schools, but at least they're trying to win.
Look, Kansas. Speaking of Kansas pulled off a huge win against Oklahoma.
Enormous win over Oklahoma.
And the students embraced that Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas. All right. This is how entitled Tar Heel fans are. Let the Tar Heels pull off a big victory. Do you think they'll storm the field? No. Kansas pulled off a big win against Oklahoma. And as soon as the final horn sounded and the final pass was incomplete, everybody came on the field. 60,000 plus stormed the field at Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas.
Well, let's think about this. If we go to a different conference, let's go Alabama or Georgia. Let's say if they had lost to Vanderbilt and Kentucky in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
What do you think those people would be saying right now? They would be after Saban as successful as Saban's been. They had been all over him. Or
easy.
They were getting ready to be all over him after they lost to Texas. So,
after that loss to Texas
I've heard almost nothing in the last 2 weekends about Carolina. When they shouldn't have lost to either one of those teams.
No. They had no business on the Virginia. I I was shocked
And
when
that
I
was
saw it.
one
I'm
of the
like,
games,
wow.
and that was one of the games I was looking at, but got talked out of covering it because I think it was Playmaker. Playmaker looked at the spread and said, "Don't do that game," and that wound up being the best game.
They should have blown Virginia out.
They should have blown Virginia to smithereens, and they didn't. They should have blown Virginia to smithereens, and they didn't. Now this with Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech had no business not only staying in this game, but winning the game against Drake May, who was supposed to be, and I capitalized the word supposed to be, a Heisman candidate, not with what I saw Saturday night. And folks, please forgive my voice. Had some things to take care of throughout the course of the weekend. But the rankings come out for the college football playoff.
Tomorrow.
They come out tomorrow. And I was talking with a friend of mine about this when we were looking at Georgia play Florida, talking about looking at the tail end of that. You know, the only Pac-10 team that the media is pushing, and yes, I said Pac-10.
Oregon.
They're pushing for Oregon, and they're pushing even further for Washington.
Yeah, but they're pushing Washington
because they like Penix.
Yep, because they love Penix.
They love Penix.
They love Penix.
Of course, he's been playing for 20 years, but
yep,
he's been playing for 20 years in two different schools.
Just the same as they love Bo Nix. Same situation.
Same
Two
thing,
different
yes.
schools and he's been playing forever. Here's why.
And by the way,
yes,
Auburn, who's run through coaches left and right and looking for quarterbacks left and right. How's that looking? They basically just let Bo Nix leave.
Because it's Auburn and they're stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's Auburn and they're stupid.
And his dad was a quarterback at Auburn. You just let him leave?
Mm-hmm. They let him walk. In fact, the four teams I think that they are pushing for: Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and whoever wins the Pac-10. Either Oregon or Washington. And after Oregon stomped Utah on Saturday, 35-6, now they got it's Washington and Oregon 1-2 playing, possibly playing for the.
Well, they screwed this up. They had every chance to make this at least a 12-team tournament this year and screwed around and didn't do it. And now we got to wait another year for it.
Yep, they screwed it up. They screwed it up when they started
the season one bit to go to 12 teams.
They screwed it up when they started it with only 4 teams.
Yeah,
Mississippi.
It should be 16. It should be 16.
Mm-hmm. It should be. They should do the same Division II and Division III do. 16 teams. You can figure out the logistics. You can figure out the logistics of how you can get the student athletes to
most of them
where they need to go.
Well, FCS and 2 and 3 are. I think some of them are. And one of them's 48, isn't it? Or 32?
I think one of them's 32, and I think it's Division III. That's 32 teams. And
it hasn't hurt their product one bit.
In fact, it's made it better. After the teams have determined who's going to play for the championship, and they play it on their campus, and they play all the playoff games on their college campuses.
Let's face it, guys. Let's face it. There's one thing driving this, and you know darn well it's at least going to be 16 one day. It's probably going to be 24 or 32 one day.
Yep.
And it's because of MONEY.
Money.
Just like the NCAA basketball tournament is going to go past 68 teams. You know it is.
Oh, in the next, I call within the next 2 years. I call within the next 2 years. The first 4 will be eliminated, and they're going to create another round and invite more teams.
You know it is.
Watch.
Because they're gonna beg Turner and CBS to pay more money than they're already paying.
Mm-hmm. And they're probably going to get the deal.
Of course they will, because for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
It's the biggest event in the world.
And they're still trying to recoup money from the COVID year.
And I go back to this. We all love college basketball. We all do.
Yep.
The season is entirely too long. They start in early November and don't finish until early April.
They should.
It's entirely too long.
They should have
expanding
kept it
by the year.
Mm-hmm. And it's expanded into this year.
So you might as well play more games, because even if you win the national championship, you're only going to play 39 or 40 games.
Mm-hmm.
So you might as well play more games if you're going to extend it this long. Because they've actually added about 2 or 3 weeks at the beginning of the season, and they've tacked on another week at the end of the season.
And then there's tournament week. And then there's
because of how much the NFL just dominates the scene, and I don't care what people say. People can deny this all they want.
Mm-hmm.
The NBA is completely changed because of football. It's obvious that's why they built this in-season tournament.
Mm-hmm.
November and December. What else do you think they do that in November and December? They want eyeballs on the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
NASCAR completely changed their season because of NFL.
Yep.
PGA completely changed their golf season because of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can go on and on and on. MLS, soccer, same thing.
Soccer.
They shortened their season because of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of the NFL. But college basketball, still stupid enough to schedule games on Sunday. It makes no sense to me.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. Jay Spivey joining us as he does every single Monday. And folks, the Spivey Notes section on the YouTube page as well as the website will be live tonight. So you want to take a listen to any conversation that we've had with Jay, it'll be right there. And what you heard today will be the first premiere episode. Thank you, Jay, very much. We love you, and we will talk to you next week, my friend.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
That Houston Oilers situation. And the college basketball situation. That's all we got. Have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you,